guys could still get re-signed before free agency deals?
I think so. I mean, we've continued to have conversations with their representatives, and there are a number of guys, somewhere in the 3 to 4 range, that are guys who are unrestricted free agents that we've certainly had conversations about coming back.
Where are you guys? How you look at this roster in terms of wanting to build it back to where you want it to be? I mean, how
Right.
far away do you feel that you are?
Well, I mean, I think there's still a core of talent that we're excited about, a number of young players that I think that are developing into those types as well. But there's no doubt that this free agency process is going to be critical for us and have to hit on a number of players on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. And then once we hit the draft process, it's exciting because of where we stand with the first pick in every round, and then now that we have 4 compensatory picks, which was 2 more than I anticipated.
Steve, in terms of the number 1 pick and possibly trading out, is there a point you wouldn't want to go below for fear of missing out on one of the prospects?
I mean, to me, that's a hypothetical because of the fact that we haven't gone through the process yet. Once you build that draft board and we build that top 120 that we draft off of that board only, then it'll give you a better visual to see where that really, to me, where's the threshold where the 5-star blue chip players really end. And to me, that'll give me a better understanding of how comfortable we feel moving back or whether we want to stay at the pick.
How much did you change the overall evaluation process when it comes to finding those guys? Does it change a little bit every year because you learn something else from the years before?
Yeah.
Versus drafting.
Yeah.
How do you fine-tune your evaluation?
I do. I think it's critical to the process that you continue to self-evaluate, see where you've made mistakes before, and if you're honest with yourself, this is such an inexact science that we all make a number of mistakes. And at the end of the day, to me, it's more philosophically about the type of players you look for than really the process, building your board. And I've been fortunate enough to add additional scouts in the scouting department to be able to put more effort into that area, which is huge because, again, the more stones you uncover, really, you have a better chance of finding players, particularly at the small schools.
Steve, you talked about the transition of offensive line from college to the NFL. Does Cliff's scheme and system, does that make it easier for some of those guys that are coming in this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little heavier emphasis on athletic type offensive linemen that are more position and shield blockers versus those guys who are the old days, the foot-to-foot maulers, which really in today's day and game don't really exist anymore. You have to be able to bend your knees, change direction, and play in space in almost every system. So, I think that Cliff is his schematical approach is going to be a little bit different than probably most that we've seen in the NFL, and it will really probably lend itself to a little more to the offensive linemen who are very athletic. That being said, I never really anticipated that there would be a day when I felt like I evaluated a guy in college through 4 years that didn't get in a 3-point stance one time. I mean, thinking back to 1991 when I entered NC State, for 2 days, I think that's all we did is get in a 3-point stance and perfect it with where your hips are, where your eyes are, those sort of things. In today's day and age, I mean, there's a number of guys who have never been in a 3-point stance. So transferring your weight, your explosiveness through your hips, all the things that come with playing that position, it's a lot different.
Steve, obviously a lot of people made a big deal out of his comments about Kyler.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have the number 1 pick. As the organization, are you guys going to support Jock Rosen, or do you plan to pursue what Kyler Murray would be?
Well, I mean, I think what Cliff said was trying to avoid bulletin board material. I think if you're at Texas Tech, I would have said the same thing about an Oklahoma quarterback. But, again, it's still early in the process. We haven't even gone through a full evaluation at all the positions. So really, it's again, too early to say. Is Josh Rosen our quarterback? Yeah, he is right now, for sure.
Steve, you have a couple of free agent defensive players up front. When you evaluate the market, do you consider the possibility of Steve Wilkes coaching guys that you coach?
Well, I mean, anytime that you have a coach that has had players in your system, whether it's him or Bruce Arians for that matter, they certainly have a better understanding of what that guy can do, not only, again, schematically, but what he adds to the locker room as well. So I wouldn't doubt that there are going to be some guys that could potentially go to either Cleveland or Tampa, and we'll certainly have a plan in place whether those guys fit what we do.
Steve, you have a first-year coach and we'll have a second quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Are you hesitant to bring in a really talented wide receiver veteran who's caused problems in his locker room? Let's catch a lot of football.
That's another hypothetical. No, again, every player is case by case, and we go through the process. We vet it. We make sure that that player is going to fit not only on the field, but that he's going to be a good citizen off the field, and he's going to be able to fit in our locker room with the current players we have. Yeah, I mean, I think every year it's different, but to me, there's a number of players that I've seen that really warrant the #1 overall pick. I mean, I've seen enough guys that I think that there is a lot of value in this pick right now.
Is it harder to trade out of the #1 pick if there's not a franchise quarterback likely to be taken there?
I don't think so, because I think there are a number of positions, whether it's left tackle, whether it's pass rusher, whether it's corner, that are impossible to find at a certain spot in the draft, or supply and demand that year in terms of depth at that position. And then free agency, how do you get those guys? I mean, very rarely does a pass rusher get to free agency. Very rarely does a left tackle get to free agency. And if they do, those numbers are astronomical. Size, physicality. There's a number of guys who have tremendous size, which we're really looking for as an outside receiver. Guys who can not only take the top off, but can be physical in the run game. Something that a lot of people don't talk about. Guys who can still block. And obviously something Larry Fitzgerald does as well as anybody in the game is his ability to insert and to be able to move people off the point. And again, I think that that's something that we don't look at a lot and talk about as a receiver, but it really is critical to the run game. Oh, I put more pressure on myself than anybody else could. So, and every year is the same. I mean, it really doesn't feel any different. I have to make good decisions for this organization long term moving forward and put us in the best position to succeed. And that's sustainable success is really what we're all about. Sammy?
Obviously, USC was incredibly disappointed to lose Cliff. What makes him such an attractive candidate? What's your tone with corner?
Well, yeah, so I've had a relationship with Cliff for quite a while, and I'll never forget when we went up to work out Patrick Mahomes at his pro day. I spent a lot of time with Cliff that day, and at that point in time, I really felt like this guy has what it takes, I think, to be an NFL head coach. Not only that, in today's day and age, everything you do, whether it's player evaluations, whether it's your system, I mean, to me, you have to think outside the box, and you have to be willing to take chances. And I know some may have thought about it as an outside-the-box type of thing, but his ability to get quarterbacks right, regardless of what scheme, regardless of what their talent level was, he has a history and a track record of doing that. And to me, that was awfully appealing, aside from the fact that he's extremely creative as a play caller.
To what extent do you think that Le'Veon Bell, having sat out a whole season with the franchise tag, affects the thinking of people in your position on the league?
Again, individual cases. I mean, I think everybody will take a look at what Le'Veon did 2 years ago and go from there. But I think we got a pretty good running back at our place.
Michael talked about having a passion for football. You guys don't ever say that. All 4 years having a passion for football.
To me, it's number one. It's how much do you love it? Again, this part of our process is so critical to me for 2 things: for the medical and to get to know these players as people. And I say it over and over that we miss on the person more than we miss on the player. All these guys that are here have a skill set. The 2 hardest things to read are the heart and the mind. And when you're evaluating guys on tape, you see all those skills you get excited about, and we all get enamored this time of year. In the fall, we fall in love with them, and in the spring, we confuse ourselves because we get enamored with the 3-cone and the Wonderlic, and Quentin Williams isn't benching. Well, good news is we don't bench at 1 o'clock on Sundays. So, again, all of those different factors that play into it, you have to find out, does he love it? And that is the biggest challenge in this process.
Two-part question about free agency. What positions do you think you'll target? And looking at the class, are you more inclined to spend a lot of money on one guy or maybe spread the money around?
That's a great question, because really the hardest part of free agency is having that money and where do you allocate it. To me, it's making sure that you're allocating it towards players who love it, who really, and really at the end of the day, free agency is extremely difficult because we don't have access to the players essentially before we make these decisions. So a lot of times, it can be fool's gold where you go and you put a big number on a player and he has a lot of guaranteed money attached to him, and you really don't know him that well. Unless the coach has coached him before at a different place or you have intimate knowledge somehow about him, it can be very difficult. And I think you have to be very patient through the process, not have to jump out there and spend a lot of money day one. If you go back and you look at my history as the general manager, we've probably had our biggest hits later in free agency or even all the way into the summer and prior to training camp. We'll put an eye on it. To me, again, it's another great opportunity to watch guys on film, and that's what it's all about. Getting an opportunity. If a player can succeed there and can do a lot of good things on tape, he'll get an opportunity at our level.
Resources-wise, how much do you put towards that versus college?
Very similar to like the CFL, arena football. We make sure that we cover it. We have enough scouts to do our due diligence. And again, now that we have that type of access to those players, I have no doubt that there will be a number of those guys getting in NFL camps. The concept? I think it's great, and I think it's great to roll out new practices and different things. And again, that's what this game is all about. It's trying to create more excitement, not only from a fan level, but from a national level as well. And I think that I think it's very good for us. Yeah, I mean, the comp picks are really valuable, and the fact now that you can trade those even adds to the value. And again, anytime that you're picking late in the draft, it can be the 6th round, it could be the 7th round to have a number of those picks, and those guys have panned out. Let's look at this past year's NFL Super Bowl. Who was the most valuable player, and what round did he get drafted in? So you can still hit home runs in those late rounds and in free agency. Some of our best special teamers last year were rookie undrafted free agents. So every level of the draft has something we call complete players. To be a complete player, you got to play hard, play smart, and play physical. You have to have those 3 attributes. And to me, you can find those players in the 1st round through the 7th round and all levels of free agency, but they have to have those 3 components. Yeah, well, DJ, again, a guy that we had intimate knowledge of. Go back with a few years ago with DJ. Love his passion and the way he plays the game. And to be able to have that opportunity to, take on, again, from a business standpoint, you're taking on another year of the contract. It's not guaranteed, but you know what he can do, and he can certainly make that room better. On top of the fact that I know he fit in because of his relationship with Pat Peterson and those guys. So to go into this year with DJ under contract is extremely exciting. And then those other guys, there's a number of them, Tanner Vallejo, guys that can be role players, that can be special teamers. I don't know why we can't continue to be active with that number 1 slot. And then, again, rotate the back end of that roster if need be. Yeah, Freddie's not only extremely knowledgeable, but he's got a certain way that he connects with players. And he makes it fun as well, which I love about Freddie. He makes all the process every day fun. And, it's hard enough to win at this level and to go through the daily grind, but to do it with somebody who has got passion like Freddie does and has such a love for the game, to me, certainly is extremely valuable. And I think the Cleveland Browns are going to continue to ascend under Freddie. Well, I mean, a whole lot. Quarterback's got a lot less time, that's for sure. And again, it's kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Is it more important to have a better corner or to have pass rushers? Pass rushers get there first, so they make the guys on the back end's job a little bit easier. So anytime you can get 2 pass rushers that are dynamic, it's critical to the whole defense. And the style of play that we're going to play under Vance Joseph is really all about the pass rush and the corners, the 4 perimeter positions.
Steve, is it scary to even think about trading out the number 1 pick just because that player is supposed to be a franchise player?
Again, I think it goes back to trusting your board. If you trust your board and there are 5 players that you think are Pro Bowl type talents that fit what you do and are going to be good in your locker room, then again, you'll feel comfortable with moving back X number of spots if you're acquiring a lot of value. But there's no doubt that if you're convinced that one guy is going to be the biggest impact and the biggest difference, you got to sit and take him. Weird. I mean, it's Carson Palmer and Larry and Pat and those guys ate up quite a bit of it for a long time, but we also had success on the field. So it's that sort of that double-edged sword, but this is fun because you get to build now, and all of a sudden you get to build a little bit differently. So it's all new for me. It's exciting. To be able to approach free agency this way is going to be different, and something that we certainly will relish. Yes. Yep. Robert, to me, Robert is a tremendous talent. Last year, he had a high ankle sprain against Cincinnati. It was to the point where a number of people recommended he didn't play. But he's a guy that absolutely loves it. Getting to know him, having him in for dinner, spending time with him, watching his style play, not only last season, but seasons prior, you see his tenacity, the way he tackles, the way he loves the game. And he still has that twitch and that movement you look for in a pure cover corner.
We'll make this the last one for Steve.
Yeah, we grade those guys at the Senior Bowl without knowing what their their grade is at the college. So we went into that process, and he was our highest rated player coming out of Mobile. Thanks, guys.